Hello, friends and brothers. Welcome to Masonic Improvement. I am your host, Dennis Yates, joined by my inner circle members or our inner circle members of Masonic Improvement. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on once again this week. Um, Tonight, we're going to talk about two different events that most of us went to. And, it's not just about those events, but about events like it that and what we get from those events by going. The two main ones that happened this weekend, though, was the Washington Parade in Laredo and the Mercury Lodge Symposium at James A. Smith Lodge in Farmers Branch. I got to tell you, I love that lodge. It is a very, very cool lodge. I really enjoyed the atmosphere that we were in, and uh, it doesn't get in a better place in it doesn't come in a better geographical place than that. I mean, it's right there in the center of some good things going on. But anyways, let's start with the Washington, uh, the Laredo event, the Washington Parade. Tell us a little bit about it, Josh.
Well, to talk about the event, you got to back up and begin on Friday afternoon. Um, because Friday, there's a couple of us that meet on the way down to Laredo, actually here in town. We eat lunch together and then we all hook up to Laredo. We got down there about 7 that night. We met a bunch of brothers at the hospitality room there at the La Quinta. The shrines from Al Safar actually are the ones kind of putting on that event. They actually made some Shriners that night in the hospitality room. So a couple people got you gave them profits. I'm not profits. Nobleman
I saw that.
Joe Long. That was pretty cool. And so we got to do that. And then Saturday, the actual parade, it's pretty cool because it's a couple different groups. You got the Al Shriners that are there. Then you've got the Laredo Lodge that's there, and then you've got a coalition of some brothers from the Grand Lodge of Mexico that are there as well. And so we're all, of course, we're all together. We're all separate floats, but we're all together, and so it's pretty cool. We're all in suits and ties and white gloves, and when they made mention that to make sure you wear comfy shoes because it's a 3 mile walk, and I did not listen. Probably should have. It's the one of the biggest parades I have ever seen in my life. Now, excluding the Macy's Day Parade on TV and stuff like that, but no, this thing is massive. I mean, they had I don't know how many different 18 wheelers they had in this parade of just hauling different things, and just that's the length. We were number 72 and 73. By the time we walked the whole parade, and we walked the whole parade down and back, got in a truck, got back to where we started, and got out of the truck to walk back to where our cars were, there were still floats in line that haven't
Wow.
even gone yet.
Wow.
There was 170 floats. So there's like almost 100 in front of us and almost 100 behind us. It was crazy. And they just lined the downtown streets of Laredo for, I mean, Ruben said it was 3 miles long, but in actuality, it's a 2 mile walk. And you're just walking straight down the middle of the highway in downtown Laredo. It's pretty cool. And the people, they are stacked to the max on both sides of the road. They have somebody doing for the announcers. They have like probably 10 or 15 people announcing throughout the parade route. That's how long it is.
Wow.
And the the one thing that my good brother Roy Burris, right works for Roy Burris, said, if we learn nothing from Laredo, we learned that they all can say hey. Because what they would do, they start going, hey, 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 on the music, and they start dancing to music and everything like that. It was like every 500 feet we were doing that. So it's pretty cool. Um, there was probably 75 of us all together between the Masons that were walking and then the Shriners and then the guys from Grand Lodge in Mexico. So there's probably about 75 of us all together. So it was
Nice.
pretty cool. And it was just cool. It was cool to see the guys, the people that are lining for the parade interact with us. Uh, you know, we had Ruben Bazan. If you know Ruben, Ruben is, Laredo famous. Everybody knows Ruben down there.
He is,
And so they
and
were
Ruben is just a great personality in general. I mean, he really is. He's a people person.
Ruben is just a great person overall. I mean,
He
just
is.
period. He's always great to be around. We got to eat breakfast with him this morning before we left, so that was cool. But so Ruben's bouncing around, talking to people and everything. And then you got our great brother Carlton Newberry. Carlton decided he was going to dance the whole time during the parade. According to him, he got asked to be a husband to four different ladies that are over the age of 80 while we're on the parade. So it was just, when we got done, it looked like Carlton was in a wet t-shirt contest under his suit because he was just sitting there going and dancing and everything. But it was great. And like Carlton said, and we were fist bumping the kids and we were high fiving and how, hey. And so it was a cool experience because like Carlton said, is that what they're seeing instead of just a bunch of stiff men walking down the street in suits, they're seeing a bunch of Masons having fun, and that's what we're trying to portray. Like we're fun people as well. So it was cool to do the parade, but like I said, once we got done, your feet were hurting pretty bad. And then once we got done with the parade, we had the red, white, and blue gala that the Alshafar put on as well. That was a fun event. Uh, I can neither confirm nor deny that I might have had an American flag cape there last night, but that was the theme, red, white, and blue. So we read more of that. They had a DJ, mariachis. They had, libations were flowing. We had chicken cordon bleu for supper, and so was it. And then once we got all that, again, oh wait, where'd my camera go? Hang on, you still? I don't know. God dang it. There we go. Y'all hear me?
We could hear you the whole time.
There we go. Sorry, my camera flipped up. Anyways, once we got done, our great brother Ruben invited all of us over back to his place for a little nightcap, and then that's when we ended the night there. And then we got done, ate breakfast this morning with everybody, and then hired down back to Goliad. So it was a great time had by all. We will definitely try to make it next year if we can. So I had a great time. Candace went with us. She had a great time with all the ladies. Roy had a great time. So it was fun had by all.
Very nice. Very nice. So, with an experience like that, what was your key takeaway from that weekend?
That no matter what anybody says, brotherly love and affection are always going on in Freemasonry because we all just showed up and had a great time. Like the guys from Laredo, they just, there were some people I had never met before, and they're just like, "Hey, how you doing? Give you a hug. Welcome to Laredo. We're glad you're here. Let's have a great time." So it's just, those. I mean, that's the thing is, that's what most of us that go out and travel is, we're just going to have fun and get to see everybody. So I thought it was a great time.
Nice. Nice. That is a fun event, and it's definitely a good opportunity to experience the fellowship side of Freemasonry because you have a lot of that, and there's something to be said about um, fellowshipping in that setting as well. You know, having fun and doing things. I mean that strengthens bonds just as much as anything else in Freemasonry. So that's awesome. It sounds like it was a good time. So I
Oh,
guess it wasn't cold there like it was last year or the year before.
no, 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 no. It was fair to Midland. It was overcast a lot in the morning, and then like I said, I wore shorts most of the day yesterday, but it was definitely cold when we got up this morning. But yeah, it it was warm, but unless you were Carlton and dancing the whole time, it was bearable.
Right, right. That's funny.
But
So
yes, go ahead.
no, I was going to say. So does anybody else have anything to add to events like that they've done
Why,
and what they've got from it?
why, yes, I do. Um, so I posted a picture in the chat. I can't see it online, but I posted a picture in the chat. This was during Brad Billings' year. I actually went down there and did the parade, and yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Uh, it's a huge parade, and the attendance from the Shriners and Masons was still light because this was 2020. too. So this was still, you were still seeing some of the effects from pandemic and all that kind of stuff and everything. But regardless, it was a great weekend. Um, I think probably one of the big takeaways I think most people should get from it is that um, you know there's a lot of serious things that we do in masonry, but it doesn't have to be 100%. And it doesn't mean that you have to go out and party and have a bashes and yeah, Jeff. um, you know what I mean? You don't have to do inappropriate things or something like that, but there is definitely, I think, room in masonry for just getting together and having a good time with each other, and in a way, spreading the word about what Masons do. I mean, of course, the most visible part is going to be the Shriners with the children's hospitals and stuff like that, and that's kind of the main focus of the involvement down there. And stuff, but the Masons are there as well, and whether a lot of people don't necessarily put Masons and Shriners together. They think of them as separate. We know that we know how it works, but the idea is that you can go out there in a public way and show that it's just not just stodgy old men huddled together in their lodge and don't talk to anybody. That you can go out there and have fun and interact and show a different side of masonry, that it's not all necessarily has to be completely serious 100% of the time. And yes, Carlton Newberry was there. Yes, he did dance the entire time, and so I got to witness witness that as well. So
Very
anyway.
cool. Well, and you're right. Y'all are both right that it doesn't have to be boring and stuffy uh, all the time with Freemasonry. And the reality is we should incorporate more social activities uh, with our lodges these days. I mean, it's not that that's what it should only be with the lodge, because and there are a lot of lodges out there that they're mostly social. They mostly focus on the social aspect, but it can definitely be incorporated into each lodge more regularly than it is today. Goliad, for instance, will go to at least goes after floor school, and they'll go have a beer at the bar next door after lodge meetings. Um, there's a lot of different situations to where there's additional social aspects that happen with Goliad Lodge, and I think that more lodges ought to do that. That's what in England, that's what they do. I mean, they have a bar that's open. It's part of the lodge room. They have a bar that's open when people arrive for cocktails. Then they have their meeting, and then when they finish, they have a festive board and more libations and sing and eat together. And I mean, it's a complete experience, whereas we don't see that as much here in Texas. So it's, man, anytime that we can put a spotlight on things like that, we need to, because that is a cool event that everybody should experience at least once over in Laredo. Anybody else?
I actually just have a quick question. What is the what are they celebrating? What's the what's the holiday that's brought
George
everybody together for
Washington's
this?
birthday.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. They have a big statue of George Washington there downtown. I didn't get the full explanation of why, but they have a giant statue there.
Yes, they do, and they always celebrate. But they do on the border. They do have a special heart for George Washington in Laredo, and I think that's awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, from what I understand, like for whatever reason, that parade has become like the largest for Washington's birthday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's in Laredo. It's
Yes.
it's interesting how it's evolved. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to remember to get Ruben on the show next time before and talk about it on the show because there's something to be said about it. And I think if if brothers would go to that and experience it the way that it's experienced there, then they could probably take home some good ideas to join the local parades in their area, and not just leave it to the shrine, but also have Masons and other appendant bodies join in as well. You
Well,
always
but that's the thing is like we do that in Cuero, but we can't ever get anybody to show up from the lodge.
well
That's the problem. And
they'll
you know,
show up with their buggies, but they won't show up for the
yeah,
lodge itself.
yep.
Yeah,
And it's like, and then we have a big gooseneck trailer that we ride on. It's not even like we have to walk. You
right.
know, we ride on the trailer. We get 5 people to show up. It's horrible to look at because we have a 32-foot gooseneck with 5 people on handles. It's like
You need to hire a band.
the scale is not there. Something I don't know.
So that was an excellent time for Josh and many other Masons for sure. But the other big event that happened this weekend, which was, well, there were two, which was very cool. First, I'll talk about the social aspect, being the Hillcrest Festive Board honoring Most Worshipful Jim Rumsey. Anybody that was there, would you like to talk about it a little bit? Okay, well, I'll kick it off. Golly, Daniel was there. He could have talked about it. I'll kick it off that it was.
I'm driving, Dennis. I'll be home in 5 minutes.
Oh,
And
okay,
I
okay.
can talk more then.
Sounds good. I bet I can.
I was gonna say something. I was trying to find my mute button, but yeah, I went, and it was a great time. The venue is pretty interesting. The venue is Hall of State and Fair Park in Dallas, and it's basically like a history of Texas per se. You know, you've got a bunch of different names of famous men written on the building. And when you walk up the steps to the building, there's this big golden statue of Mercury shooting an arrow straight up. Well, the arrow's not there, but you can tell that's what he's doing. And there's a bunch of different statues of the different presidents. And there's William Travis and the guy from Goliad, the guy that got killed at the
Fannin,
massacre. Yeah, Fannin.
Colonel
There's a
Fannin.
big bronze. Yeah, there's a big bronze statue of him. There's another room that they've got blocked off, but I've seen it before. But it's a big diorama of the Battle of the Alamo, and it
Yes.
fills a whole room. It's a giant room, and then there's a flag room with a bunch of old flags from that time period as well, which is pretty neat. But then you go in where we all ate, and it was just a fascinating room with murals and just paintings everywhere and big, you know, flags hanging in that room as well of the different states and things like that. Um, the uh, the dinner was pretty good. I mean, it was like just a kind of a regular dinner, but the speaker was fascinating. He's my favorite author, um, William or Andrew Hammer. Um, Andrew Hammer spoke, and it was I got a lot out of what he was saying. I actually got to meet him. I walked up to him and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Brad Hoff," and he goes, "I'm Andrew Hammer." I go, "What'd you say?" He goes, "I'm Andrew Hammer." I was like, "Oh, no kidding." I was like, "Yeah, I read your book," and I was like big fanboy going off on him. But anyway, he's really nice to talk to, and just the way he wrote his book was it kind of really challenged my thinking on what masonry should be about, or what it, different things. And his speech just kind of laid into that too, and it was really good. Um, the guy that raised me as king, well, okay, I guess shouldn't say that, but the guy that raised me in my master degree, he was the guy that got the DDGM there during the meeting.
Yeah,
So
Jeff
Jim runs
Frazier.
the.
Jeff is a magnificent man. He does so much for this fraternity behind the scenes that nobody even knows about, and for him to be awarded district deputy at large during the the night, that was awesome. I really thought that was awesome too.
Yeah, that was cool. But I mean, I could go on and on about that night, but it was cool.
There's a couple of things that I think deserve being said though. The banquet hall that we were in is just phenomenal. You're talking about 30-foot ceilings, and it's pillars of stone and marble throughout. These huge pillars that are 10 foot around. Uh, it's just remarkable place with, like you said, murals all over, and not only did it did it demanded that it be an elevated experience and not just any old dinner. It demanded that it the the fact that we all wore suits and uh, and had a stately, for lack of better terms, a stately type of an event. It was awesome.
There was about 80 people there, or even more. There was at least 80 people there.
Yes, I counted 76, but there was other people around that I didn't count that were up walking around and stuff. You're right. I mean, it was an impressive event. What do
Yeah,
you
I,
think?
I got to go too. And if you've never been to the Hall of State, it's amazing. It's an Art Deco 1930s building with art and Texas limestone. And I've lived in Dallas basically my whole life. And I don't know if I've ever been inside to that level before. And it really made the evening impressive because of starting with the location, right? It really was like, this is something that's special. This is something that's unique that you're not going to get somewhere else type of experience. And then on top of that, dressing up in nice suits, there was people in there in tuxedos and, it was you need to come dressed to the nines, ready to go. And then, the dinner was good. And the speaker was, to reiterate Brad's point, the speaker was phenomenal. And it really just made the evening special.
Yeah, it sure did. And speaking of the speaker, talking about the speaker, man, the talk that he gave, it mirrors, it parallels so much of what we talk about here on Masonic Improvement. But the one thing that stuck out to me was that Freemasonry was always supposed to be selective in who they allow into the lodge. You don't just allow anybody that with a pulse that wants to come in and kick the tires with Freemasonry. That it was always intended to be a more selective process that we've gotten away from. And because of that, because of us getting away from it, what happened over time is that people who didn't know what Freemasonry was came into the brotherhood and imposed their own will on what they expected Freemasonry to be, and changed the dynamics of the way it's done, basically here in the States. That it's completely different from where it all originated. And so, except for a few words, but the reverence that is upheld, the well, the way we carry ourselves in lodge, everything is different from the way it originally started in back in the day. And he was explaining that, it's up to us to make sure and guard the West Gate, something that we've talked a lot about here lately. But it was a great talk.
Yeah, he basically said that our hunger for numbers has outweighed the hunger for knowledge, and that the people, what you just said, basically, since what most of us are doing is good, it must be masonry, right? We're raising money for kids. I mean, that's good, right? But is that masonry?
Right. I agree. I mean, there's nothing wrong with good men raising money for kids and stuff, but it
No,
but it's not necessarily the lodge's job to raise money for kids.
right. And it shouldn't be the only thing that we're about either.
Yeah.
Like, it should not be the only thing that defines a lodge is that we raise $2,000 a year for kids or whatever.
Right. Right. And that's where it's imposing other people coming into the fraternity, imposing their own will, making the lodge what it was never intended to be.
Right.
Yeah, I truly enjoyed that topic, and I think that it's a great presentation for the brothers to hear that were there at the banquet, because most of the people that show up to these events, and we'll get into the symposium here in just a minute, but most of the people that get into these events are are the boots on the ground leaders of this fraternity. It's the guys that are more active in more things within the fraternity. And so it's good that these guys hear um, a message like that, because you know masonry is organic, because it all depends on the culture of the lodge. But what he was saying is that, you know we circumscribing our desires is and keeping our passions within due bounds, that also is the same, that it also applies in that instance where, there are certain things the lodge is supposed to do, and going outside of those bounds changes the dynamics and the cultures of the lodge.
And I think one of the things for me, Dennis, of Friday night and the Hillcrest opportunity with that festive board was just thinking about like getting ready for that and getting there, and then like the place it was. Again, I want to emphasize like the importance of like the building itself. It's a centennial building for Texas,
Yes.
right? It was a super special location, which set it apart again, just from like it's not a normal lodge. It's not something, it was not the mundane, right? It was very special in the location. I'm sure they chose that location for a reason, right? And then walking in, the lights were dim. They had candlelit, dinner. The place settings were all set. It's one of the few times I've gone somewhere where it's like, hey, there's actually more than two forks, and more that, you had to
Yes.
remember all the etiquette that, that etiquette class that you took maybe at church or in middle school, whenever that happened, right? It's like, oh dang, which fork do I use? Which spoon do I use? All of those things, because it was that elevated experience, and there was some cost associated with it, right? It wasn't astronomical, but there was cost associated with it, and it's like in some ways that filtered out who was going to come to begin with, right? It's on a Friday night. It's a little expensive. It's in Fair Park at a fancy place, and all of those things meant the people that came wanted to be there. They really wanted to be there, and they put forth effort to be there, and it was worth their time and worth their value to come and have that opportunity to do it. Not only that, and then hear the speaker who came as well. And so when the speaker was speaking, it's like, oh, this is that like-minded group of people that we want, because they're the ones who are here enjoying this type of experience, this elevated experience of Freemasonry that really was wonderful to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. I showed up and was happy, and I left and I was happy. You know, unlike sometimes when you show up to lodge and you're happy, and by the end of lodge you just feel worn and torn, ready to go home and lick your wounds until the next time. Yeah, that was a great experience. I truly enjoyed myself. Jeff did a
Yeah.
great job. Jeff and the whole team, the whole committee did a great job of putting that together, and I couldn't be more grateful for people like that that are giving us these opportunities to go to. So now that we've spoken on fellowship and camaraderie, let's speak on education, the symposium. Man, tell you what, I truly enjoyed watching the and listening to the other presenters there at the symposium, and it was amazing to me because I didn't even look at any of the advertising to see what our common theme was supposed to be. I really didn't even know that. And I wrote three different papers until I settled on this one, and I took it up there, and it turns out it was directly in line with everybody else. I mean, that's a divine intervention right there, in my opinion. I got lucky that I was not the sore, the sore presenter out there with the wrong thing. That would have been bad. But but I wasn't, and it turned out really nice. What do you guys think about that? I was excited because at least a third and almost a half of the people there were inner circle members.
Well,
Yeah, I
I know
thought
there's. Go ahead, Larry.
it was phenomenal. That's my first time to be one of those events like that, and everything. The food was great, and but number one, I wish they could get a recording of the speakers, like on Grandview, so they could, so not anybody could, that people would listen to it, or Masons, 'cause, but in the last guy speaking, I don't have his name right on that one. He was phenomenal. His the way that he the the s- the knowledge of how everything fits together with the different uh, uh, through history and everything. I knew some of them like that, but I didn't realize how
Oh, you're
how many
talking
of
about
them.
the second to the last, Nick
Yeah,
Jones.
yeah. That yes. Boy, I mean, he just talked. I mean, he'd get up and just somebody ask, and at the end, somebody asked a question. He'd start talking like just like he had written down, just like prepared remarks. And but that guy knows his stuff. Very
Yes,
good. It was
yes.
very good, very
You
good,
could tell with
great.
all the information that he had, you could tell that was not done in a drunken stupor. He
Yeah,
he he is one sharp individual, almost Rain Man like in the way that he presents his stuff because there's so much that he gives you all at one time, and
yeah,
it is great to be able to put those pieces together.
yeah.
Yeah, it was great, and I just say what Larry said. Like my head was spinning at the end, like when they did the Q&A session. Like I've already got so many thoughts. I had a little notebook with me. I probably took 8 pages of notes. And out of those 8 pages, 6 of them were additional thoughts that maybe weren't things that were talked about, but thoughts that were spurred in my head based upon what was talked about. And it's like, oh, there's this and there's this. And it's like the past 2, 3 years of thinking about things and meditating on those things and being like, oh no, this is how that connects. Oh, this is like that connection point. This is that thread. And it really was awesome to be able to be there and, a small group setting. And I'm looking at the call here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people were there today, right? In addition to some other inner circle members. And it was just great to see people in person, like get to meet Larry in person, right? Get to meet Jeff in person.
Yep.
And not only meet them in person, but sit in the room and like just have that experience again of really great friendship, really great fellowship. Hear some really great talks that were well prepared, including Dennis's, right? And
and it was great to hear those and then be like, oh, this is what that looks like. Oh, this is what that looks like. And I'm going to shout out Brad Hoff, right? Because the first thing like this the very first thing was the Masonic Improvement Summit that happened in Corpus a couple of years ago, right? Maybe now 3-4 years ago.
Yeah,
But then like Brad did the thing in Royce City, and then now this at Mercury Law, and it really it changes the way you think about masonry in some ways, in my opinion.
I agree. And I tell you what, I felt bad that I didn't have any paper and pen to take notes. I saw you and Brad both taking notes, and it's like, golly, man, they're right. There's so many good nuggets here. I should have been writing some of this stuff down.
Yeah, I actually had very little to do with the planning of the whole thing. It was Keith Idell's brainchild, really, and he had been talking about it for a while. And he's the one that got most of the speakers. Uh, he just asked me for help in finding a couple more, and that's where I recommended you first. And then they wanted one more. I thought 4 was enough, but they really wanted one more. And that then I was he started asking me about Nick because I have Nick coming out to Royce City on Wednesday, and I was advertising that, and he was like, "Hey, what's up with this guy Nick?" So I connected them two together, and yeah, the rest is history. I just made the flyer with AI. I used AI to make the flyer. It was pretty easy. Just put in the names and the place and everything, and it spits it out. And then I just shared it all over Facebook a bunch of times, so to make sure that anybody that used Facebook would see it.
Yes.
Yeah, I wish I had about taking notes. I wished I'd taken a paper or whatever. I could have done that, but yeah, I've learned. Next time I will.
Yeah, I was blown away by how many people showed up, and the food was good, the fellowship was good, and I loved it that everyone was so engaged that, during breaks people were talking, during lunch, everybody was talking. There were very few that were just standing in line. The majority of everybody was talking and visiting and talking about the subject matter, not other things. They were talking about what was being presented in the symposium, and that was just so cool. What do you think about it, Jeff? You're muted.
This Jeff?
There you are. Well, no, I was talking about the other Jeff.
Oh, okay. I'll shut up.
I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
Tom was there too.
Can you hear me now?
There you are. There you are.
All right. So, yes, and Dennis, you not just because you're on this call, but you did a good job. I learned a lot about the lesser lights, things I didn't know, and so as I drove home from Dallas at 5 o'clock this morning, I was thinking about some of that, and then so that was that was good. If I could have if I could sit in that room again and I could listen to Bob give his talk 15 more times consecutively,
Yes.
I think I could pull 6 more nuggets out every time I heard it. His words at the end of that day, that was the perfect conversation, or not conversation, but that was the perfect talk for the end of that day. And we've all sat, and no offense to anybody that has ever presented in front of any of us, but his talk was so simple but so profound, and I left there, and Jeff Bennett and I stayed with Jeff this weekend, and so as he and I were driving home, I said, "Man, I would have paid him $100 just to get a copy of that paper, not because I wanted to spread it across, the brethren that I know. Not that I wouldn't have done that, but just to be able to contemplate those things that he put out there." Because it was really, it was great. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I had, again, I'm fortunate. I had the unique perspective that my son was there with me. And it's always intriguing to me because I worry that he's not engaged or that things are over his head. But I think he really got a good bit to take away from it as well. And for those that were in the room, if you remember my comments, what we got to experience, on yesterday, is that right? Yesterday?
Yes.
What we got to experience yesterday, our ancient brethren got to do that. Like that was every time they went to lodge. That's what they did. They had those kinds of conversations. And I used the term yesterday, and I'll use it again. That higher level, that higher level thinking that we were immersed in yesterday. In so many ways, it's been whitewashed out of Texas Masonry, anyway, for sure. And it's unfortunate because it's profound. I can't say enough. I was overwhelmed, and I still am. And Daniel, if you'll send me your 6 pages of notes so I can try to recover everything that I heard, it'd be good. But there was just so much, and I had the same thought, like, oh man, I should take my stuff in so I can take notes. And then I was like, man, I'm not going to do that. So I've already decided what I'm going to take to the stated meeting here in a couple of weeks here at home. There's a few things, there was some stuff that Billy talked about. There was some stuff that Dennis talked about, that I want to try to work into the stated meeting. But it was man, that was such a great day.
I agree. And you're right. Bob just drove it home. And I don't know if they say right worshipful up in Oklahoma or worshipful, or most worshipful, but Bob Davis is a past Grand Master of Oklahoma, and he was one of the pioneers. In fact, I'm going to ask him to be on the show. I should have done it in person, but I didn't for whatever reason. I get in the moment and I forget to do everything that I would like to do. But I do plan on having him on the show because he is one of the first, one of the pioneers of getting education restarted, kickstarted. And, we're in this revival to where we're seeing these things more often now, but, and not enough either, but we're seeing them more often. But a lot of that started with him and what he accomplished up in Oklahoma, and then coming down and sharing these nuggets with everyone else. I truly admire, his approach at giving presentations and stuff. And yes, it was profound.
Brad came up with a new word. He invented a word. So that's good. Definitely. For those of you that haven't heard definitely yet, definitely would imply more than definitely. But no, sir. But all things aside, not to jump in front of you, Dennis.
That's okay.
Man, we need more of yesterday. We need more of that. And honestly, it's going to scare some guys. It might scare some guys off. Because not that there was anything too deep, but I think there was certainly more so after lunch. You needed to be open-minded. but in the right way. But I I feel strongly that we need more of what we did yesterday across Texas.
Yes, and having the discussion after each topic is especially valuable because it gives a chance for brothers to process what they just heard and hear some of those nuggets back at them, and then also to hash out other ideas within the framework of that presentation. And I think that the that's rhetoric. That's one of the most important lessons we learn in Masonry. And being able to do it in that setting is the perfect setting because you've got a bunch of like-minded brothers that are there intentionally to learn more about Freemasonry. And and so the discussions are better than um, what you might find elsewhere. There's something else I wanted to say also. What do you got, Tomas? I know you got some thoughts on it too. I'll rethink about what I was going to say and try and get it out here.
I thought all of them were very well connected. I didn't think that all the presentations would relate to each other as well as they did, but I didn't even realize that Mr. Davis was a Grand Master of Oklahoma. But on a small point, I had one of the brothers in my lodge was mentioning me a documentary. It's called 33 and Beyond.
Yep.
Which I originally saw when I was an EA, but I kind of just paid attention to half of it, and I happened to be watching it again today. And lo and behold, there's Bob Davis talking from the Scottish Rite, and I was like, "Wow, that's really cool that this was a much bigger speaker than we thought that was coming there." But yeah, he was on that documentary, and he spoke a little bit on education, and it was in the documentary is geared towards the Scottish Rite and how they get people to think deeper on the things we learned in the first 3 degrees. And it was kind of alluded to the fact that, you know, these are the guys we want to bring in because that's what it is. And I mean, after coming back from that set of presentations, I'm like, well, I used to tell Justin Jones this all the time, you know, I'm looking for a certain type of masonry. And that's what it was. And it's, like I said, I've researched the history of masonry. And back when we used to meet in taverns and that, most of their meetings were philosophical discussions. And it was like, and that's just not something right now I see at a lot of the lodges. You know, there's not, most of the discussions now is about, okay, who's bringing dinner next time. You know, it's like, well, I came here for the deep thought. I wanted to have interesting conversations, which we had. You know, but it was kind of nice to see a bunch of the brothers that we really don't see, and it's really a shame that we don't get together more often. You know, so and that's my biggest takeaway, except for Nick Jones, who was way above my head on most of what he was talking about, and it was like it was coming out so fast I couldn't keep up with him. I was like, okay, he's going from this time period, this time period. It's like, oh my God, my head's about to blow up.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky that I've studied those before, so I was able to keep up, but it was barely. He's quick. Which,
oh yeah.
But Tom, what I would offer is that he gave you a primer for where to go.
Oh yes.
I didn't say this. I didn't say this yesterday, and I went back and forth with whether or not should I or how would I say it. So, a very close friend of mine, a very close Masonic friend of mine, turned me on to The Secret History of the World, and I was listening to it on Audible, and I listened to the first, I don't know, couple of chapters, and I mean it's very interesting for sure. But then when yesterday when he spoke about how um, through the use of and somebody will say this more eloquently than I, but through the use of enhancements, and I don't want to minimize it and just say mushrooms, but through the use of through the use of um, substances that you can open, that those who have gone before us believe that they could open things up, and it took me back to that book and how it described. I mean, don't shoot the messenger, but that Adam and Eve weren't Adam and Eve. That it was, that Adam was the milk of a dandelion and that kind of stuff. And so it really, Nick brought me right back to that, and I was like, man, I'm gonna have to start listening. I'm gonna start reading that book again, listening to it, whatever it is. But it was just, it was such a good day, and there was so much information. You're never, I appreciate those of you that took notes. But even if you took every note you could have, you would still miss something, I think, my opinion. But it hopefully opened everybody up to what we could be talking about in a lodge room, about how we got here, right? And it's not, I even mentioned about the second and third section of the EA and ultimately how new those are in the grand scheme of Masonry. And that, the Mark Master's degree is the second section, third section, however you want to think of it, of the Fellowcraft. And, it just blows people's minds because for all the stuff that everybody knows, those few things are transformative to the way we practice the work. But then how did we get here? Anyway, very, very, very good day. I feel like I'm hogging the conversation, so I'll stop talking.
Well, I agree with you, and I think that we should have more of this in our lodges, and then it wouldn't be so hard to keep up with some of those conversations, like with what Nick had. I think it's a travesty that we don't, to be honest with you. I know that there's different aspects of the fraternity, the fraternal aspect. There's more aspects in the fraternal platform than just education. But in reality, I think that was the basis of Freemasonry, and not, it wasn't to do anything else but to protect them from the tyranny of the church and the church and state. That was the purpose of Freemasonry, and so everything was written in allegory and symbolism in order to protect people, to help people teach the lessons while protecting them at the same time. So it's the same reason, alchemy was a science, but it was also a philosophical set of ideals, and they used the different symbols in alchemy to teach those lessons as well. One thing I really liked about Bob's talk, and I didn't represent that well when I was talking, when I stood up and said how much I appreciated what he was talking about. But all the different traditions in different types of traditions in Freemasonry, like the Hierarchic tradition, the Kabbalistic tradition, the Hermetic tradition, the Rosicrucian tradition, the Druids, and Egyptian, of course, and then I've even read about an Ezekiel tradition and a Noah's tradition. And so with all these different thoughts in philosophically, brothers have lots of different ideas about what Freemasonry is, but it's all circled around this storyline of teaching and educating for us to be able to free our minds of the prejudices that we had in the past and the ignorance that we had in the past. Because ultimately, I believe, like I told y'all during my talk, I think, during the question portion, ultimately, I believe that that's what creates our soul. It's our intellect combined with the spark of God, the light of God, and that creates my soul. And so, in learning all these different traditions and taking these deep dives with brothers, y'all are actually helping me to refine my soul. And refine was a word that I used a little bit in my presentation, and that was specifically because I believe that that's what we're doing in Freemasonry. I think that's the reason why so many conspiracy theorists like to jump onto our bandwagon. I think that's why they like to hitch onto our wagon, and I think that that's also why the church has owned us and then disowned us and owned us and then disowned us at different times. You know, it's even like I said before, even the Catholics. I mean, they've just got this remarkable way of you know, their rituals. They've got remarkable rituals which prepares you for the opening of church and for the closing of church, the opening of prayer, the ending of prayer, you know, just all these things. They do it so remarkably well. And it's basically the same thing as our rituals. Our rituals just happen to be, you know, written out by people like Francis Bacon and acted out by people like Elias Ashmole. You know, I mean, back in the day, back when those guys were prevalent in Freemasonry, those were the giants in Freemasonry back in their day. And, you know, we wouldn't have the philosophical ideals that we have if it wasn't for all of the contributions that they made in Freemasonry. But that, I believe, like, you know, Jeff was stating, that's what this was all originally for. That's what Freemasonry was for. You know, those kind of geniuses back then were using the space within the lodge and the protections of the grip and passwords and stuff. They were using those as protection so that they could have a meeting inside the lodge to where they could openly discuss these radical new ideas that opposed the state and clergy. So
Hey, Dennis,
go ahead.
I don't want to detract too much. There was a question in the YouTube live chat about what is the purpose of a festive board. I don't know if anybody on the call has a good
Does anybody want to answer that? The purpose of the festive board is a structured form of fellowship to where it's strictly to build camaraderie and through the social aspect, the meal, the toasts. It narrows your focus to what's important with those toasts, and it also most of them that I know of have speakers, and it's a higher realm of learning. It's in my mind, it's to emulate the table lodges of back in the day, or maybe not even the table lodges, but the lodges they had above the taverns. A table lodge, they used to write the tracing board on the table and teach the lessons that way. But a festive board is similar to a lodge, a loosely put lodge, but it's a simulation of a lodge to strictly, you know, reinforce fellowship and the social aspect of the brotherhood while still being educated. That's the best I can do. Anybody else got anything better?
Sounds good to me. You did good.
I'm maybe a little simpler, Dennis. I would just say it's an opportunity to get together and have a really great meal and have toasts as well, right? But have a presenter who speaks and then have an opportunity to dive deeper on that, right? And again, I think that's partly what you already said, but maybe just for me a little simpler way to think about it, right?
Right. Well,
I'm not
and
as eloquent as the wonderful Dennis Yates is, so.
no, I'm not eloquent. I just talk enough until there's enough points in there that you get lost in the words. Here, I'll read what Google says it is. It's a traditional, formal, or semi-formal dinner held by Freemasons immediately following a lodge meeting, serving as a time of fellowship, camaraderie, and speeches. Looky there, they were listening to what I said. Imagine that, my phone listening to what I said and giving me the exact same thing that I just said.
I think you hit all the nails on the head there too, Dennis. I also recently, just last week, watched I think it was about an hour and a half long deal with Brother Pete Normand, talking with some I can't remember the name of the organization, but they were out of Kentucky. I do remember, but it was an hour or so long interview with Brother Normand, and he went into the hows and whys of a lot of that festive board stuff, and it was really informative. It was a great video to watch. I think we're going to try to implement some of those aspects as we do a few of them down in Southeast Texas.
Nice. Can you share the link in the Zoom chat? Can you find it and send the link?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll dig
Yeah,
it
that'd
up.
be great for brothers to see, because I know that they're becoming more and more popular, and I know that the Grand Masters are having a lot more fun going to the festive boards than just having official visits and stuff like that. So, in my opinion, if you want a Grand Master to show up, get good at doing a festive board. They don't ever miss Houston's festive board. They never miss it. It's a staple in Texas Freemasonry now, and hopefully we can create more around the state to have that opportunity. But I think
Yeah, I think Gunsight is going to be having one after their official visit next month. Gunsight meets in Galveston for
Yep,
anybody in the area.
that's
I think
Craig's
Gunsight does a
Lodge.
festive board every time.
You what?
I think Gunsight does a festive board every time. Like that's their thing, because I think they only meet once every 3 months.
Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe.
I think it's a quarterly lodge, and there's different groups that I do that as well, but it's not truly festive board with what we do, but we do have a lot of the components. In fact, that's the festive board is basically what I was talking about earlier. That's what England does after every meeting. They have a festive board. They they have toasts, they have speeches, and they sing together and around the table and break bread together.
If we had to try to have a festive board after our meetings, everybody'd be gone. I mean, after our meetings, because we eat first and we start the meeting at 7:30, and then that's usually about 8:30 or 9 before we get through. 9 o'clock, those old men, they're ready to go home.
Well, yeah,
Right.
because they're used to eating dinner at 4.
Yeah.
But so go ahead and have the meeting first,
Yeah.
and then
That's,
have
that's
dinner
an
after.
idea.
Start at the same time.
Yeah.
Have the meeting at 6, 6:30,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and then 7:30 sit down to dinner. But make it the festive board.
Yeah.
You know,
Several lodges have changed their meetings to start at 7 instead of 7:30, and they start meeting around at 6. So, I think there's 2 lodges in the district that start at the readings at 7. There's only 4 lodges in our district, so but anyway, that's not much different. But it helps in the days when they're getting longer, that you started earlier. Of course, it doesn't make much difference in the summer, so forth. But yeah, it's yeah, it'd really have to do some talking to get our lodge interested in what a festive board is.
And it's interesting that you say that, because it takes me back full circle to what some of the conversations of this weekend were, which especially the discussion that, or not the discussion, but the presentation that Brother Hammer gave, and that's because we're imposing our will of what Freemasonry is instead of doing it the way it was traditionally done. It's almost a cuss word to say traditional lodge in Texas. It really is. People get bent out of shape because if you want to have a traditional lodge, people get bent out of shape because you're changing their Freemasonry. So, but fact is
Well,
that
yeah,
the fact is they changed Freemasonry to meet suit their own needs instead of conforming to the beauties therein. I'm sorry, my rabbit just made some weird sound. It sounded like a rattlesnake. But instead of, conforming to the beauties therein, as we're charged to do, we decide to make Freemasonry what we think it should be. I'm just as bad, but not
right.
really.
And therein
I
lies
study
the
about what I
current
want.
tradition.
The current traditions of mediocrity. Is that what you
think,
meant?
well, and that's kind of where I was going. Yeah. You mentioned traditional observance as a kind of a cuss word, a dirty word, whatever. Um, that's because you're asking people to change their current tradition back to an earlier tradition.
Well,
And that's where I think it just raises the discomfort level for some folks, because they're like, well, but what do you mean I haven't been doing it right all this time? And that's not what anyone's saying in trying to create or join or whatever a traditional observance lodge. There's a place for that, and it's unfortunately it's not in every lodge that we have. For some lodges, the traditional observance is going to be fish fries and scholarship fundraisers and taking care of their building. And yeehaw, good on you. Do it.
Well,
Do it all.
that's not traditional observance. That's just their tradition. That's just their culture.
That's their traditional observance. And that's why I'm saying that if you try and equate traditional observance to a higher form of Freemasonry, that's where some folks get a little squinky eyed, maybe.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, is that they shouldn't. They shouldn't, because they're the ones living the lie. The festive boards have been around from day one, and we're the ones. In fact, I've been reading the book, The Symbolism of Freemasonry by Albert Mackey, and he specifically stated that it got dumbed down once it came to America. They stopped wearing the white gloves like they were supposed to do, and they stopped doing a lot of the different things that they were supposed to do. We stopped doing a lot of the things that we were supposed to do, and we dumbed it down. We made it to where we are right now. I mean, heck, look at the dress code that Jim Rumsey has for everyone in his Grand Lodge, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. He's going back to what it was originally.
No, and I'm all for it. And y'all know me. I am a t-shirt and blue jeans guy, 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. But the dress code that Most Worshipful has put out, I feel like is absolutely appropriate and has been long needed.
I agree.
And I would just chime in, Byron.
Okay,
You know,
cool.
like one of the things we talked about at the Mercury Large Symposium, right, is like, or a discussion that was had was between the two things that I went to this weekend was you feel different when you set yourself apart, right? You feel different when you put on a suit, right? I had the opportunity to wear a suit 3 times this weekend, and Byron, like you, I'm more of a polo and jeans type of guy, not necessarily a t-shirt, right? But I mean, even when I joined masonry, when I was doing all my study work, you know, the guys at the lodge would give me a hard time because they're like, "Dude, you're wearing your sandals again up here to the lodge. Like, we don't want to see your feet." You know, I'm like, "That's me." You know, and last time my lodge met, I wore a full suit, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, who's this guy?
Where's the
What's he doing
sandals
up
go?
there?" You know, um, but you know, I think that's part of it, right? Is becoming better, right? Refining myself. Like, what am I going to do to do to see the changes in me, right? You know, and again, I'm still the guy who wears a polo and sandals 90% of the time, right? I don't wear shorts to lodge, right? Not even to practice. I put on the pants. But you know, I also work from home, right? So for me, there's not a whole lot of opportunities to need to be dressed up beyond that, right? But there is something special about, hey, let me go get the suit out. Let me get the shirt from the cleaners that's starched heavily and looks good and feels good. And then, oh, you know, I've got all these different things going on. It's like, oh, this is something special. And to the point of where my kids are like, oh, dad's wearing a suit, something's going down, right? Like they know now. And I went from a point of like having one sports coat to 5 or 6 suits now, right? That are like, hey, this has changed in the last 4 years of my life. This is what has happened because I'm trying to enhance myself. It's not about anybody else. Yes, this has influence on it. Yes, this is influencing me to do better, but ultimately it's about what I want and how I want to represent myself to everyone else.
Maybe it's the journey of a good man becoming a better man. Where have I heard that before?
Yeah.
But how
Yeah.
often do you get to see it practiced? And this is part of that practice. That's why I'm absolutely on board with the Grandmaster's proclamation. I'm hip. I'm in. I'm bought in. And you know, thank God for Alain de Petit or whatever that cheap suit website is. I love those guys. I can get a I can get a good looking, not necessarily great, but a good looking suit, $50 all day long.
Yep.
And if I want a vest, I can spend 80.
All right, Byron, you gotta drop that in the
No,
in the Zoom chat so
chat.
we can
Oh
get
yeah,
that.
we'll do it.
They don't make
Yeah,
it
give me a
for
minute. I'll
people
get it
that
out
are
there.
fat like me, I can tell you.
Yeah,
They they go up $10 an
I don't
inch
think
for
they make
guys
them.
like me.
I don't think they make them short enough for you, Dennis.
Right? I know. Yeah, that's a true statement. I have always
Yeah,
had to have all my stuff hemmed up and everything, so I might as well have tailored suits. I have to have everything fixed anyways. But you know what's interesting is that except for a couple of younger guys within the group yesterday, uh, there was no dress code stated, but almost everyone was in a coat, and many of them, many brothers had coat and tie. That was pretty interesting.
oh yeah. You know, because again, we've had this discussion before too. When you put on um, when you put on a suit and tie, your mindset changes. The way you carry yourself changes. The way you think changes. It's like the uniform a cop or a firefighter puts on, or a man in the military or a woman in the military. You know, you've all heard the expression, the clothes make the man. Well, that may or may not be true, but the clothes definitely put the man in a different frame of mind.
Yes, I agree. And I also believe that the external reflects the internal.
Yep.
And when I go into a lodge, like I said yesterday during the discussion, you know, that we at some point we stopped calling the lodges temples. We stopped calling our meeting places temples. And
Yep.
along the way, you know, we stopped wearing suits and we stopped holding that place in reverence.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a definite there's a definite purpose to for one thing why there's a now a dress code out there. But I mean, you know, it's not something that's been foreign to, you know, several of us for a while, because we've often have been attending events where it's expected that you either wear a dark suit or a tuxedo with bowler hat and cane and
Yeah.
everything. And I actually when we formed once again AMD, um, that night we actually had our quarterly York Rite dinner that kind of coincided with it, and there was, you know, all the guys were there, plus a lot of their wives were there and families and stuff like that. And I got up and I talked about, I said, you know, we are expecting for this particular council, it's specifically cowboy tuxedo. But regardless, the idea is dressing up. And I said, and I told him, I said, look, it's not just to play dress up. I said, there is an actual purpose behind it. And it has to do with your frame of mind. You know, we're going to be coming to a formal dinner. We're going to be talking about, you know, degrees and esoteric topics, and it is to enlist, you know, put you in that right mindset to discuss those things. And I also have told a lot of people, I've always heard for a while before I actually got a tuxedo, like, well, you know, once you get a tuxedo, you're going to find a lot more reasons to wear it once you actually have it. And I can tell you, it is 100% true, because I was when my ex and I were talking about, you know, we were in Korea, and it was very cheap to get custom tailored any kind of suits. And it was actually her idea. It's like, well, maybe you should go ahead and get a tuxedo. And I was like, I don't know, a tuxedo, really? Like, I don't, you know, I don't go to that many at that time. I don't really go to. And somebody there, I don't know who it was like, you know, once you have one, you're gonna find that you're gonna wear it far more than you ever thought you would, because all those events that you went to, where it was like tuxedo, or if you got a dark suit, you're gonna go, well, I actually have a tuxedo, and I encourage, you know, just like Byron was saying, I mean, there are places out there that you don't have to spend, you don't have to get an Armani suit and, you know, and go all out. There are plenty of places to get a decent quality suit and a tuxedo. And if you are in masonry, even if you're just a master mason in a rural lodge, you say, well, I would never have an opportunity to wear it. Yeah, you will. So do it. And you're going to find it's a worthwhile investment. Anyway.
You're absolutely right.
Can I field Daniel's question in the chat, please?
Daniel. Which one's Daniel?
Dutton.
Oh.
Question in the YouTube chat. Serious question. Are we saying Masonry gives us real knowledge of ultimate reality? Or is it a method that refines how we interpret meaning? Are we discovering truth or becoming better interpreters? And I'd like to take a stab at this, if that's okay.
Okay, after you do, then I think everybody should take a stab at it, and then I'll finish.
Because this is a good one.
Then I'll give the last stab. Everybody that wants to take a stab at it. So yeah, you can start it, Byron. Everybody that wants to take a stab at it, go, and I'll
Right
end
on.
it up. That's a good question.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it. Yeah, it is. It's a great question. Does Mason, okay, are we saying Masonry gives us real knowledge of ultimate reality? Let's just break it down. Yeah, I'm going to say it does, but not directly. You know, the lessons that we learn in Masonry are deliberately hidden in allegory, and it is up to us to utilize or to just refine how we interpret meaning. By going through and learning these allegorical lessons, by engaging in thoughtful conversation, uh, that's how we find that ultimate truth, um, or ultimate reality. I'm sorry, I misspoke your word. Um, are we discovering truth? Absolutely. But that truth is going to vary from man to man because we all have our own interpretations of it. So, yes, it does also make us better interpreters. Whether or not you define truth with a capital T as anything in particular, you will, through thoughtful discourse, through logical discussion, through the study of the various arts and sciences, you will learn and be able to better interpret the reality around you and refine, if not absolutely define, your truth. That's what I think.
Pretty good. Anybody else got anything? Go for it, Brad.
Yeah, I want to talk about this guy said he's from Faith Lodge 1158, by the way. I want to say, because of what I heard Andrew Hammer talking about on Friday night, talking about um, subduing my passions. So, what Masonry does when I walk into the lodge is what it's supposed to do. By subduing my passions, I'm putting off the profane self, the Brad that's out here in this world right now, the guy that I am at work, the guy I am in my family, that guy that has the history of life. I put off that profane self when I walk into the lodge, and I become just like every other brother. I'm also supposed to put off my religious beliefs, and I'm also supposed to put off my political beliefs. And in other words, as Dennis put on Saturday, sacrifice the ego and come into the lodge on a level playing field as everybody else. And in that term, like in that sense, I can definitely interpret meaning better. I can get real knowledge of ultimate reality. I can become a better interpreter. I can discover truth. But it is up to me to pull the veil back and seek it out. It's not going to be given to me, but the masonry gives me the working tools to do that. And that's the way I feel about it.
I like that one too. Anybody
Yeah,
else?
I would
Come on, Danny.
I would just add, for me it's about symbolism, right? So I come from a background, I was an art teacher for a long time and studied art, and there's so much symbolism in art, right? But when you start looking for symbols, what you start to realize is there's a hidden world in symbolism, right? And what that does is it opens your eyes to what could this mean? What is the possibility of this? Instead of just going, oh, this is what this means, x equals y, 1 plus 1 equals 2. It's, what could this be trying to teach me? What can I apply from my life? And as you stop and think and meditate and reflect on these symbols that we have through the working tools, through the principles of masonry that we're taught, you're able to then go, oh, here is that ultimate truth. here is this universal truth or this universal story we hear, these archetypes that we hear through other things. And it is, to Brad's point and to the other points that were made, we have to put off what our natural inclination and our desires to think about things in a certain way, right? Like, oh, I want to think about it politically, or I want to think about it, this is, my religious beliefs, or this is like who I am because of the experiences I've had. We should be opening our minds to what is the greater piece here, and how can I look at that and bring other points of view and other ideas into what I'm doing and say, is it just about these tools, or is it a bigger story? Is it a bigger lesson that I should be learning and what I should be doing? And when you open your mind to that, then it's like, oh. And I think then you are prepared to go in and find even more truth and even deeper truths that aren't necessarily hidden, but are veiled in allegory, veiled in symbolism. And then you start to realize, like, this is way deeper than I even thought it could be. And so then you're like getting into that and you're going, oh wow, oh wow. And then like you hit level 1, and then you're like, then you keep going down, and you're like, the deeper you dig, the more you see, and the more you can realize, like, oh, this can be these other things as well.
Nice. I like that. Who else?
I think we're only I think we're only really discovering truth because of the way we interpret it. Think about back to it kind of spurred my mind back to one of our early book club episodes where we were talking about the principle of mentalism and how everything is how you perceive it, how you interpret it, how you know it, and it becomes your oneness with the all, whether that's your creator, whether that's for people outside our fraternity who may, just be one with nature, or if that is their creator as well. But the one with all and the interpretation of that is different for everybody. It also reminded me of the Plato's allegory of the cave, right? Are we interpreting the truth because we're still inside the cave, or are we the one that is questing and seeking the light to to step out and grow? And I think that's what Freemasonry does, at least for me, is it provides me the opportunity to converse with brothers, to exercise rhetoric, and to learn and grow and discover that truth through interpretation. I think so. I guess the answer to that original question there in the YouTube chat is both. It's not an or, it's a both. We're discovering truth by becoming better interpreters of the world around us, of our relationship with our Creator, and learning those universal truths.
Man, you stole my answer, but I got another one. I had a backup plan. Who else? Bueller? All right, it's my turn. So yeah, for that, those questions, that set of questions, I'll just say yes. All of the above. So, but here's the thing, is that through the allegory that we have and the study of the symbols, yes, we are able to interpret meaning from the ritual with that, and we can certainly interpret new meaning in symbols, in the symbolism through Masonry and through study. But ultimately, what ritual does is it transforms. And so the ritual that we take, even opening and closing our lodges, is meant to transform us and to align us with the will of divine. With divine will, I should say. Not the will of divine, but divine will. Because I don't believe in me personally, not that the things stated on this show is not reflective of any Grand Lodge, any appendant body, or any other person on this show. They are Dennis Yates's and Dennis Yates's alone. Okay, so that being said, I personally don't think we've got this big being figurehead above us that's saying, you know, this is my will for you. This is how I want you to walk or whatever. I don't believe that. I believe that divine will is a simple truth of how things play out. The more you learn and the more you absorb and the more you transform in this world. And being more receptive to undeniable truths within our world, and physical and spiritual. And so ritual has always been meant to, and this is what scares the Tin Hatters, and it's also what bothers the that's meant to transfer through that ritual. We're that are in our physical and spiritual, and hopefully align ourselves with the divine. Anybody else got anything different? Come on, guys. Killing me, Smalls. Reichenberg, what's wrong with you?
I could talk, but it would just hear myself talk. I don't have anything more useful than
Right.
what y'all have already said.
It was tough not to, you know, just reiterate everything that was said by
you
everybody
guys.
else.
Exactly. I mean, I seriously. I mean, I think you guys. I mean, that we all are kind of on the same mindset for a lot of this and stuff. So yeah, it's no, you guys hit what I kind of a lot of the things that I find as well. So
Yeah, once I started really.
But thank you for calling on me.
Once I really started studying, you know, Hermeticism and alchemy and Kabbalah, when I started studying just those three things, it rocked my world. It turned everything upside down. And, you know, I used to be a staunch Southern Baptist, good Christian. I was a good Christian. And now I'm a heretic. So you might not want to listen to me or follow what I do, but, you know, I'm happy in my place where I am. I'm happier in my skin today than I was always feeling inadequate with the beliefs that I had in the past. But the reality is that the things that I've learned really just reinforce a lot of, it reinforces what's in the Bible, to be honest with you. And the Bible reinforces it. You know, if you really study it all, then you can find that those truths align. If you're willing to interpret the Bible as in the way that it was intended to be interpreted, which was allegorical lessons. That's it. There's a lot of history in the first half of it, in the Judaic side of it, but there's also a lot of hidden truths in there, and the Gospels are basically all allegory, you know, trying to teach us different lessons. Anything else?
Well, it would. I'd be lying if. Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit if I can. I'd be lying if I said I was a introspective person before I became a Mason. I mean, yeah, there were little bits here and there that I'd be like, maybe I look at this, look at that. But I didn't really start looking for capital T truths until I joined Freemasonry, because I got glimpses of them from the guys around me. I got more glimpses of them when I started diving into the Monitor. I got even more when I started reading Lightfoot and Mackey, and I still haven't summoned the will to dive into morals and dogma.
I knew you were fixing to say Pike. Yes, it takes a certain breed to get to be excited about reading Pike for the first time, and it takes an even stronger breed to finish reading it. Reading his works. Though now I have a ton of books by Pike, and I love them, but it took me a minute. It took me a minute to get there, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
But it's, but it really is. It was only for the last decade, a little over a decade now, that that I've really started to seek and chase those truths, and I'm going to find some.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
the
you will.
fun part.
Yes,
I
you
know
will.
I'm going to find them.
I think you already have found some. You just don't realize it yet.
Some I have found, and some of them have been heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Some of them have been absolutely joyful, and I know I'm going to find more of both.
You know what the biggest? Go ahead.
I'm willing to have my heart broke again because I know I'm going to get joy out of it too.
Right. You know what the biggest lesson that really was driven home from the Bible for me once I joined Freemasonry?
What's that?
Love your neighbor as yourself. It
Amen.
wasn't until I understood our brotherhood that I truly understood that verse. There's a lot of ways you can spin that, but understanding brotherhood, I understand that phrase in the Bible. As well as let's see, another one would be when I was a child, I thought like a child, or I
acted as a child.
Acted as a child. When I became a man, I put away my childish ways. That's another one that, yeah, because I am a product of a 20-year marriage that went sour, and we ended up getting divorced. And if I had just stopped acting like a child and became a man, then that probably wouldn't have happened. In fact, I came real close with this wife, and it hadn't happened yet because I realized that, oh, maybe I was acting a little bit childish in some ways. A lot of ways.
Never.
Most of my ways. I just need to learn how to be the good child and just do what she says, right?
That's a big part of it. Yeah.
Again, none of these things are endorsed by any particular Grand Lodge or particular lodge itself.
Yeah.
Mason.
Yes, for sure.
Well, I'll have a saying that growing old is inevitable, but growing up is still an option.
Yes.
Amen to that.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody else got anything to talk about tonight?
I do have one thing. If any of you find yourselves in the Waco area next Sunday, come by the Scottish Rite building about 1:00. And we're going to have Jay Lester's Celebration of Life.
Oh,
it's going to be,
yeah.
It's going to be a big thing, I think. I was talking with a couple of guys over the last few days, and I had it illustrated very powerfully to me how strong our words can be and how strong the lessons that we teach can become, especially when you teach them to others. And that was always Jay Lester's thing, was teaching. So yeah, I look forward to seeing a whole bunch of people on Sunday. So if any of y'all are into that, come on out and help us celebrate Jay Lester.
Nice.
Well, and Byron, not to steal that thunder from Jay Lester, but also Saturday, February 28th is the Alamo observance down in San Antonio. So if you're headed back from San Antonio up to DFW or into Waco, maybe that's a good, you could hit two things in a row.
Yep.
And that's something that's going to be special down in San Antonio this next Saturday. Also, Wednesday night in Royce City, Texas, there's a great presentation going on too. So lots of great things going on, lots of good opportunities.
Yes.
If you haven't looked at the calendar for Saturday is going to be extremely busy for Masonry. There's a lot going on.
Yep.
Dallas Scottish Rite Reunion Day 1 is Saturday as well, the 28th.
Nice, nice. That's great that we have so many things going on. The and when they're too close together, it's not great. But in this instance, you have something for the Metroplex, you have something for Waco, and you have something. Well, actually, a bunch of people from the Metroplex could come down to Waco. It's not that far of a drive, but you also have something big at the Alamo, and I always encourage everybody to do that if you can, because we typically, I don't know, Josh, is the Alamo observance, is the Grandmasters Conference going to be done at the Scottish Rite?
Yes, the
Yes.
Scottish Rise Conference is at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, and then as soon as that is over, it is the Alamo observance. If you would read your district email that got sent out earlier, you would know that.
Man, I got to be honest, dude. I slept till 2 o'clock this afternoon, and I didn't even stay up late last night. I was just so exhausted from Friday and Saturday, and then I got up for about an hour and then took another nap until I was ready to eat dinner and get on the show. So today has not been a checking anything day for me.
Well, that's on you then. But yes,
Yes.
yeah, I got that. And then after that, there's a 50th Service Award at Patterson Lodge and lunch at 1:30. And then after that, it's Kindle official visit at 6:30. And then after that, it's the Potentate Ball at Asfar. So it is a packed Saturday for Masonry in San Antonio.
Let's see, this week. Wow, there's really not a whole lot going on this week. This week, for all you secretaries out there, you need to get your lodges in order. If they're not, Grandmaster visits, if they haven't started already, will be commencing in March. In fact, I've got 2 of them at the beginning of the week that I've got to get ready for. My 2 lodges that I'm secretary for. I got to make sure that I'm ready for the week after this week. And also, for those of you that live in the Houston area, I'll be visiting Gray Lodge on Wednesday night of next week. Next week's a busy week. I'll be in Corpus 2 nights, Monday and Tuesday. I'll be in Houston on Wednesday, and then on Thursday I'll be in San Antonio. So it's going to be a good week of masonry all over everywhere except for Goliad.
Oh, wait a minute. I'll be here, so it'll be fun.
I was like, what's happening on Thursday in San Antonio? Oh, it's the Scottish Rite. Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Well, and
I should know that.
Oh my gosh, you should know that.
I should know that.
for those in the Metroplex on Thursday, and I hate to be, the doom and gloom guy, but that's where my brain is today. We have the funeral for past master Elmer Murphy on Thursday in Richardson.
Man, speaking of passing, Robert Duvall. Robert freaking Duvall.
I know.
He's gone. Ah, that's heartbreaking.
That speech. The speech he gives those young rascals in secondhand lines. I've fought wars on continents, led thousands of men into battle and everything from horses to tanks and planes and love, killed many men and loved one woman. I love that speech. I do. I love that speech. That's the best.
What's funny is I told my wife earlier today, or I asked her, I said, did you know that Robert Duvall passed away? And she said, well, did you know that this guy passed away? It's like, who is that? And she said, it's McSteamy from...
It's McSteamy off Grey's Anatomy, thank you very much.
Yes.
I know exactly who you're talking about, but
yes.
McSteamy off Grey's Anatomy.
Of course, my interests are Robert Duvall, and her interests are him. Golly. Shows me where I sit in my family.
His name is Eric Dane. And yes, he did play McSteamy on Grey's Anatomy, but he also played the captain of the ship in the TV show, The Last Ship on TNT. If you ever saw that show, that was pretty cool.
No, I
Never
haven't
did
seen
see
it.
that one.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so
Pandemic ending, cold, flu or whatever killed everybody, and they were out in the sea when it happened, so they have to save the day. Pretty good show.
So any of your brothers that are watching, or non-brothers actually, that are watching the show tonight, Daniel shared the link to 33 and Beyond, didn't you? Yes.
Yes, I
Daniel
did.
Daniel shared the link to 33 and Beyond, and it's uh, a great discussion on Freemasonry, and I think it's a great documentary for people to watch. I mean, the I guess the cameras weren't as good as they are today, but it's still a good documentary. Anything else? Oh, by the way, any of the Inner Circle members that would like my presentation for this last weekend, I sent it to Daniel earlier today. But that's one of the perks for being an Inner Circle member, is that if you would like one, I'll send it to you. I got you, Larry. I'll send it over to you tonight. Brad, I'll send it to you as well. So, okay, I got you, Byron. So that's one of the perks of being a member on the Inner Circle is I do play favorites. It's not a level playing field. The Inner Circle is the Inner Circle for a reason. But anybody else out there that may be listening that's not watching tonight or hears it later, that is an actual Inner Circle member, which you have to go and click on the button to join to become an Inner Circle member. It's not just subscribing to the channel. You have to click join. Then you're an Inner Circle member, and you get the benefits of that. I am actually working on a new website for Masonic Improvement, and I will have a cloud drive attached to that website for the stuff for the Inner Circle. Yeah. So that's something that's coming, that's in the works. I need to work on, my editing skills instead of my, I already know how to build a website. I don't know how to be an editor, so I need to work on that. So that I can create some more content for you guys with other brothers. And we do have the Esoterica coming the first week of March, the first weekend of March. Actually, let's make that the second weekend. And I say that because I'm in the middle of reading Symbolism of Freemasonry by Albert G. Mackey. If y'all haven't read it, it's a great book. It's a little over 300 pages long. If you get the edition that you can actually read without glasses and a what are those stupid, golly,
A magnifying glass.
magnifying glass, yes. If you there is a copy out there that's you have to use your glasses, your cheaters, and a magnifying glass to read it, or you can get the copy that has large enough print that you don't, and that's the one I recommend. But it's
Is that the
So
300-page version or the 400-page version?
the 300 page.
Oh, okay.
The 200-page version, that's the one you can't read. What were you going to say, Jason?
So, remind me, why are you reading that book? I can't remember.
For an episode on Masonic Shelf, where
right.
Jason Reichenberg is the producer, and Chris Williams and Bradley Kohanke are the talent.
Yes, and good news for everybody. Chris is actually healed up enough. He recorded an episode that will be coming out in about 2.5 weeks. And so he is back to, he's well enough that he can host a podcast from home, but not much else.
Right.
But he is he's able to do that. So yeah, he'll be back hosting.
Yeah, I talked to him on Friday on my way up to the to Dallas, and he was mentioning that. I'm glad he's finally at that point of being able to get off the medicine to a degree to where you can get past the clouds. You know, there's a lot of fuzziness that goes on after a surgery, that's for sure. And he's finally past that point. And I sure am glad, because he's one of the great minds of Texas Freemasonry for sure. But yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, I'm reading a book right now that we'll be discussing on Masonic Shelf, and I can't wait. But we're doing that on March the 9th. That's why I need to wait on the on our chapter of the Esoterica until the second weekend in March, and then that second weekend
please
go ahead.
Yes, please don't delay that date, because I'm guessing I'm going to have to do a lot of editing.
Well, really, you won't have to do a whole lot of editing, because, you know, half the book, or not even half, the first 12 chapters of the book, or 13 chapters, I got to tell you, man, it's pretty impressive. It's basically him justifying his beliefs through historical facts, building up to the part to where he starts talking about symbolism. And it's pretty impressive, because there's a great history there, but it's like I said, it's 12 chapters long. It's a pretty tough read.
What's the name of the book and the author again?
The Symbolism of Freemasonry by Albert Mackey. Okay. It's a great book. And for those of you who don't know, Albert Mackey was actually the mentor for Albert Pike. They met each other in the York Rite world, and then Albert was the one. Albert was the one out of the two Alberts. Albert was the one. Mackey was the one who conferred the degrees on Pike for the Scottish Rite. Because back then they were communicated. It was all communicated. There weren't any stage acting out or anything like that back then. And then Pike went on to rewrite the degrees and write Morals and Dogma. Well, first he wrote the Magnum Opus. I've got 2 of those volumes in my collection, and then after that was like the prelude to Morals and Dogma. But anyways, so Mackey's a pretty sharp individual to have somebody like Albert Pike think of him as a mentor. I mean, you got to be a pretty remarkable human to have that kind of a person hold you in high regards, I think. Really, I didn't know. Oh, okay. Great. I'm glad you like it, Mr. Courtney. I can see the chat. I just can't speak to the chat. So that's why Daniel and Brad head off the chat rooms, because I have 2 programs going and I'm not ready to have a third going while I'm doing this. But anyways, any final thoughts? Let's go to final thoughts. Go for it.
All right. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brad.
I just want to say a couple things. Wednesday evening, if you didn't get a chance to see Nick Jones at the symposium, he'll be at Roy City Lodge. Dinner at 6:30. Education piece starts around 7. The guy's a wealth of knowledge, and he's going to speak a little bit slower this time, he said. So,
can I mention something about that real quick?
Yes.
That presentation was excellent. But when you go, take a take a spiral notebook and jot down, just jot down the historical, um, oh, what would I call them? Markers, the historical markers. So when he goes into Mesopotamia, just write down Mesopotamia. When he goes to the Druids, write down Druids. When he just do it that way so that you can stay in the moment with him, but you can get those markers so you can go back and research those topics, because they are all excellent topics to research. And yeah, like Brad said, hopefully it's slower for everybody. But go ahead, Brad. I'll let you finish up. I just wanted to give you that tidbit.
Yeah. So yeah, there's just that, and then that was really the only thing. I wanted to thank all you guys for, especially you, Dennis, for coming up to the symposium and speaking. It was awesome to get to hang out with you and everybody here that did come. It's always awesome to get to hang out with Inner Circle guys that I see every weekend, and on this little screen here. But when actually getting to, break bread with you and get knowledge from, and sitting in the same room, getting educated. It's awesome feeling. Um, I really appreciate you guys for coming up.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. It is an absolute privilege and honor to be asked to go speak anywhere. But I especially like these symposium type things and the Masonicons and things like that, because the people that show up to those events, they're usually your future leaders. Leadership type people, they show up to events that are going to help them hone and refine their craft, right? No matter what business you're in, they do. When I was in sales, man, I was listening to Zig Ziglar every waking moment that I wasn't at my house. That's what I was listening to, because I wanted to be the best salesman in the world. When there's a symposium somewhere, and you should try to make it. If you have any aspirations for leadership, you should try to make it, because Freemasonry without esotericism is not Freemasonry. And if you want to be a leader in Freemasonry, you need to be deeper than a soap dish. Just saying. But I know that was bad. But anyways,
Yeah, a little bit.
next person, go ahead, Byron.
Yeah, I just want to, just real quick recap and just say I'm really grateful that you guys have shared all of the stuff that you did from the symposium. I would love to hear more. I didn't get to go, and it's and I'm fixing to be back in Oklahoma. Dang it, for who knows how long. But to just touch on a couple of the things that we touched on tonight.
Then you need to go visit Bob.
Well, and I'm certainly gonna be taking a suit with me, so I can go to lodge up there.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm
Nice.
gonna take some Texas Freemasonry to Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Don't do that
So,
to them. They don't deserve that.
Oh, come on now. At the very least, I can teach them how to make some decent barbecue.
Oh my gosh. That's one thing we had at our dinner, or at our presentation. We had presentations with our lunch yesterday. That was
Oh, right on.
We had barbecue for lunch, and it was delicious. Absolutely delicious.
Cool.
Go ahead.
All right, now let me finish my thoughts.
I will.
Snapperhead.
Yep.
All right. So, getting into the allegory, finding the hidden meanings therein. These are the things that help us achieve uh, that trope of making good men better. It isn't something that you just show up and get dumped into your brain. It's something you got to look for. And if you're not finding it where you're at, start traveling. Go find it. It's out there. You just got to go get it. That's the way this whole thing works. None of it is going to be handed to you on a silver platter. You want to be a better man? You want to be a better Mason? You got to put in the work. So go do it.
Truth.
That's all I got.
Man, dropping a truth bomb tonight. Yes.
Bam. There
Travel,
it is.
travel time and book time, baby. All day long. All day long. Larry, what do you got tonight?
Well, I've got a couple of books that I'm going to be reading. You got some excellent suggestions. Other than that, it's great to see everybody again, and look forward to see you next Sunday.
Yes, sir. Me too.
I just
Brother
want to
Atcher?
throw out there that I'm
There you
thankful
go.
as always for all the information here. It's a great exercise in rhetoric, talking with everybody. I wish I could have made it up to that symposium. I'm at the point in my life right now that between my usual vocation and traveling for the events for the kids, it's just not doable to go the longer distances. I'm down in the tiny little southeast corner, about an hour and a half east of Houston. So hopefully we can get some stuff in the Houston area, and I don't have to go all the way up to Dallas for some of these cool talks. But yeah, no, it'll be good. I enjoyed it. Again, I enjoy talking with all you guys and fellowship, and I appreciate everything. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. And on that note, you know, there's a few speakers like myself, and I know Jason does as well. We do it mainly around our areas here as a way for as a way of outreach for the. If you have anybody out there that over in Houston that wants to put together a symposium or something, then I'd always be willing to come over and speak. And I know Jason would be happy to as well. So just throwing that out there for you if you although I know several very good speakers in Houston, but if you ever want to have your lodge put something together, then I'd be happy to come over.
Yeah, we're actually been talking with a few brothers at the MWSA in our area about doing something like that, because just like everywhere else in the state, the people that are a little more esoteric minded find themselves to be islands, for lack of a better term. And a lot of us have gotten together in not necessarily the districts, right? Our districts are still pretty small, but our MWSA, which covers several districts in my region, um, have kind of gotten together and pitched the idea of maybe having a festive board or two or 10, and starting with that and seeing what we can do to grow it out.
Well, just let me know when, and I'd be happy to help support it. Even if I'm not the speaker, if I can attend a festive board to help support you, if it's on a day that I have free, I would love to do that. Help support you, for sure. Jason, what do you got?
No, and yeah, and ditto what Dennis was saying. I mean, if anybody around the area or around the state, needs assistance or help with organizing something or ideas or speakers, if myself or Dennis, like he said, if we ourselves can't, we at this point we know plenty from around all over the state, and so don't and I will tell you, you can have definite success even in small areas, because you start putting together good quality events. People, it may start off slow, but they will respond, and it does work. So um, yeah, I got off easy. I just piggybacked on what Dennis said. So that's my final thought.
Riding my coattails again, Jason. Here we go. Which congratulations, Jason. Jason. It has recently been announced as being the new chairman for the education committee for the Scottish Rite in the San Antonio Valley. Congratulations, Jason.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm glad I could lift you up on my shoulders.
Thank you, Dennis.
That was bad because Jason, you know, he earns everything that he gets. He definitely does. So that's a true and honest congratulations, Jason.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
What you got, Josh? Josh 3.0?
Oh, not much. Good conversation. Enjoyed as usual. Looking forward to this weekend. And Jason, I might take you up on your offer because I need a speaker for Victoria for next year. So we'll talk later. But yeah, good conversation.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not the one to be a speaker in Victoria.
Asked and answered, so you can just move on. So
He wouldn't have anybody share. I mean, he wouldn't have anybody show up if I was the speaker. What you got, Daniel?
Definitely.
There we go. There's me, Ben. I'm just gonna say, you know, when we talk about travel time, book time, you know, road time, it's not about being exclusionary. It's about finding the right people. It's about connecting with like-minded brothers and finding the people and the groups that are going to make you better. Because it's not about what you bring necessarily to yourself. This goes back to some topics that were discussed this weekend in events that we were at. It's not about what you bring yourself. It's about what you surround yourself with and how that improves you. If you're surrounding yourself with the standard mundane things of your life, that's what you're going to get. If you travel and you seek out other brothers that are going to make you better, you're going to push yourself and you're going to figure out like, oh, this is what that means, or oh, this is what that means. And it's not to say you can't do that in other ways, right? You can do that by reading. You can travel places in books in your mind that are going to take you places that you could never even think about, right? And then you can have these online discussions as well, right? This Saturday night or Sunday night discussion that happens here on Zoom on YouTube Live, right? That's what I started with. That's what I started with, and I got so much value out of just watching the YouTube Live. I decided to join the Inner Circle. And I think the big thing for me was going to and I'm going to keep harping on it, Dennis, because I hope one day it comes back, is that original Masonic Improvement Summit down in Corpus. And the opportunity to be part of that when that happened was amazing. And I think that's when I joined the Inner Circle. I was like, man, I gotta do this. I gotta pry open that wallet, pull out a couple dollars, and put it down on the table. And I think the lowest tier is like what, $2 or something like that. It's not a lot, but it gets you in the door with men who have similar thought processes and similar opportunities, who want to grow and want to be better. And that could also be going to like your local forum with your committee on work member. That could be going to OLT. That could be starting a book club. Jason, I think you do. The Scottish Rite does a book club through San Antonio, right? On Zoom.
Yes.
There are all sorts of opportunities. If even if it's like limited time and limited bandwidth, there's opportunities for you to find things that are going to educate you and make you grow as a man. And I just saw a comment in the YouTube one, steel sharpens steel, and it's true, right? You have to put in that effort, and you have to hone yourself to be a better man. And that's what this is. That's what travel time is. That's what this is. And it gets even better when you travel with a brother. Um, you get to have some conversations in the car. You get to have some opportunities there to do that. I have, a great friend in Brad Hoff, because we took a road trip about a year ago, and man, I got so much love for that guy, because he's, I was like, it's great. It's great. And it's amazing to see that happen, and just open yourself up to those opportunities to say, this is what I'm going to get. And I'm going to plug the Masonic Improvement Inner Circle again, Dennis, because it really is. It's the opportunity to say, let me get a little more face time with these guys. Let me get a little more opportunity to be here and really dive in and participate in this conversation in a deeper level. And yes, you can do it on Texas Freemasonry. Yes, you can do it in other groups, but this is the opportunity. It is hard. It is hard to look at your normal vocation, look at your 24-inch gauge and go, these are all the things that are going on in my life. But if you really want to improve, you've got to carve out that time and do it. And I've been thinking this weekend, as I reflect on this weekend, one of the things that I thought about earlier today was that you are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And who are those people? Who am I letting into my circle? And who's affecting me? And how am I affecting the other people around me? I think about me as a dad and filling up my cup. And I was spending time with my wife earlier today, and we had a great conversation in the car about this. It's like, what am I doing to improve myself and improve my family and improve the world around me because of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And with that, I just say all of that to say it helps. It helps. It helps. It helps. And you have to put in the time, you have to put in the effort to be better.
Wow, that's a good one. Thank you, Dan. You're absolutely right. I mean, if you want to be a CEO, you're not going to talk to the janitor about how to be a CEO. You're not. If you want to know how to get a stain out of your upholstery, then you would probably talk to the janitor for that, because that's his expertise. If you're going to build a building, you probably need to talk to some steel workers to understand the complexity of building a building with steel. If you surrounding yourself with people that are knowledgeable in what you want to achieve is paramount. It's paramount. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's Freemasonry or anything else, it's paramount. You don't get like let's say you want to, well, here's a perfect example. So a lot of these executive level positions that these people have, there's internships for those offices. And you don't get paid for it. They're internships. But your sacrifice, you're getting paid knowledge and wisdom to be able to be in that circle. You're allowed in that circle for free. And you're able to learn from them and learn how to achieve that goal. So, it takes a lot of effort on your part, and you won't always see the repayment right away when you do it. Sometimes it takes years to accomplish what you want to accomplish, depending on how difficult of a task it is. I climb poles and dig holes for AT&T. Really, that's the basis of my job. But I am one of the better people at my job too, because I pay attention to people that are smarter than me. And then with Freemasonry, I'm riding on the backs of giants. I am. Chris Williams and Bradley Kohanke and Robert Park and Pete Norman and the list goes on and on and on. You guys on here, y'all are all part of my Freemasonry, and y'all shaped me into who I am. The best thing that I could have ever done for myself is be humble enough to accept that wisdom from you guys and from all those other people. And I had to ask. I didn't just get it because I'm a good guy. I had to let people know what my intentions were and get the wisdom that I needed. That same thing goes with the stuff that I've done with Grand Lodge. I asked people, how do I help? Where do you need me to help? Where can I fit in? If you ask me, I'm going to say yes. And that's the one thing, is that almost everyone on this screen here says yes to Freemasonry. They say yes when the call comes from somebody that needs a little help. They say yes, and they make sure that they're available to help where need be. And then in giving that help, it may not be altruistic like our degrees really want us to be, but in giving that help, they're helping themselves at the same time. Because next time that person needs help, they're going to call them first if you do a good enough job. So, you know, if you're interested in something, you got to put yourself out there. You know, it's for every one of us, we had to come to a lodge. We had to make that effort. Now, we were prepared ahead of time in, you know, looking on Google or whatever. I mean, and Google was barely a thing when I was interested at first. But you can look at Google or whatever all day long, but until you make the effort of approaching someone and asking them, how is it possible for me to do this, then it'll never happen. You have to ask. I truly enjoyed this discussion tonight, and I'm glad that there are so many brothers in our inner circle that are so active throughout Freemasonry in Texas. You know, that's another another marker for success for Masonic Improvement, in my opinion. When you go somewhere and you always see a brother from the inner circle at a major event in Texas, or even minor events, when you travel and you see brothers participating and answering the call, man, that's a big deal for me. For me, that shows that, you know, we're on the right track. We're helping brothers that feel like they're on an island. You know, that's kind of been the essence of what this was all about to begin with. For me, was trying to reach out to the brethren out there that are on an island, because Freemasonry is not always available to every brother. Sure, you might have been ritually brought into the craft, but that's not to say, you know, but how do you know that that lodge is really participating in education that's really going to make you better, that's really going to make you challenge your own beliefs to determine if you're on the right track or not? Because you'll never know if you don't ever challenge your beliefs. Then, you know, come the end of time, the end of your time on earth, and then you're all panicked because you feel like you may have missed something somewhere. You know, I won't feel that way, because I feel like I'm studying and trying to build myself up intellectually and spiritually, so that I am an integral part of that building, that celestial house above. That's what it's all about, brothers, in my opinion. We're honing ourselves and improving ourselves for the Maker's purpose. So with that being said, brethren, get out there, go to lodge, check on a brother that you haven't checked on in a while. If you know of somebody who's just passed recently, check on their widow. You know, we just don't do those simple things quite enough. A phone call can go a long ways. And we have resources out there to help the widows, you know, but we never know what they need, because there's a cutoff, there's a loss of communication there once our brother is passed. So reach out to someone that you know of, that a widow that could use your help, if it's possible for you. Anyways, that being said, I really enjoyed all the conversation that was on the YouTube channel tonight. And if you don't have anything, sorry, I was trying to read that last message that popped up. If you don't have, what was I going to say now? Golly, I need to stop reading. If you don't have Freemasonry in the area that you're at, you need to travel. I travel an hour and a half away to get the Freemasonry that I enjoy several times a month. And, you know, different people's Freemasonry is different. And and that's okay. But for me, I travel, and that's an hour and a half each way. And like this past weekend, it was a 5-hour trip to go up there, but it was well worth it because of the impact that it had on not only the folks at the symposium, but myself included. You know, I got to learn from people like, you know, Bob Davis. Golly, how often do you get to be in the same room as that guy? You know, so he's one of the powerhouses of Freemasonry in Oklahoma, and you know, frankly, in Texas as well. He travels all over Texas giving presentations and speeches. But you know, if I hadn't made myself available, if I hadn't made that commitment to my own development in all this, I would have never been there. Would have never gotten there. Brothers, I'm grateful for you that are all Inner Circle members. I am. You help this show keep trucking, and you help me to become better, and I appreciate you. All you other brothers out there and the friends that are watching the show, keep it between